sky that the brothers on the rise now. Woo! Endless celebrations all in my house. Yeah. Levitating now, I'm super duper fly now. Yeah. London boy, but DC where I reside now. Put the time in while you always yelling time out. And for quit it, cause I know I'm coming with it. You were sitting, you were wishing I was handling my business. Yeah. Now I got the ball like Harry Potter playing Quidditch. And my business so humongous, you would think that happens in there. Damn man, I'm all that, yeah, I'm all that. Working for that whip, yeah, that what you call that. I'ma blow up in the summer, have him yelling fall back. And I've always been ahead like an effing ball cap. Man, I came in the game like, whoa. Got a couple chains on me cause I like gold. They told me I'm the best and I told them I know. Cause when I'm in your town, every ticket I sold. Yeah, they saying I'm the man. Facts, bro. Facts, lot of haters. Tell me where they at though. I'm the new pop, all I do is rap though. Yeah. Want me on your song, throw a couple stacks, yo. Woo. Everybody wanna do the same thing. Yup. That's why we ain't on the same page. No. Do my own thing and I maintain. Woo. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yeah, I'm going mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. I'm going mainstream. Mainstream. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. Yeah. I'm going mainstream. Damn. Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream. So I'm going mainstream.
And welcome to the show. What a week. It has been absolutely banging. The news has been flying in thick and fast. That's a lie. But what has been happening is Elden Ring. What a game. What an amazing game. It's been dominating the conversation. It's been dominating Twitter. But before we get into the topics for this week, let me introduce our guest for the week. Mav, welcome to the show, man. I don't think I need to ask what you've been up to and what you've been playing, but I will. What have you been up to and what have you been playing?
Hey, thanks for having me, dude. Excited to be here. Yeah, dude, just been working a lot. I haven't been able to play as many games this past couple weeks as I've wanted to. However, when I have, I've been diving into Elden Ring, just like everybody else. Super special game, dude. I am not a Souls guy. Never have been. I tried. I think I've bought in every Souls game with the hopes that I was going to become a Souls guy. It never happened. But this game's got its hooks in me. I just am itching to play it constantly, dude. There's something about it is different, you know. So yeah, I'm just loving that. And besides that, dude, still just Halo occasionally, Forza Horizon 5. There's too much stuff to play, dude. I got this backlog of all these amazing games, and I just want to finish them all. But new stuff keeps coming out, so I don't know what to do with myself. So we'll figure it out eventually, I guess.
It's definitely the problem with Game Pass and Elden Ring. I think this thing's got its hooks in me for at least another 3 months, and everything in the backlog's just gonna have to grow and sit and wait. Gladiator, welcome back. We always love having you on the show. Amazing to have you here, man. What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
What is up? Thank you for having me. Look, man, if you're not playing Elden Ring right now, I don't know what you're doing with your life, because that is what's in my console right now. That is what I've been grinding, and it has just been such a magical moment. I mean, I've even put this on my Twitter that the last game that I even felt like I was thinking about my next playthrough was Skyrim. And this is basically that right there, because I'm getting close to the end of the game and I'm already thinking what I'm going to do next. So definitely been spending that time with Elden Ring. And on the side, I've actually been catching up on some anime. Naruto Shippuden, I'm almost done with that. So those have been my two side projects right there.
Oh yeah, have you watched Flash Gits? Flash Gits dropped a thing on Naruto that was absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'll link it and send it off to you on Twitter. You'll love it. As always, we've got our returning panel to hold the show down. JediKnightPete, how you doing, man? I know what you've been playing and raging at. How's your week been?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, look, I think everybody knows that I love Souls games, and Elden Ring is, I think I can say, the game of the generation, without a doubt so far. I'm absolutely loving it. I live and breathe Elden Ring at the moment. It's a little bit ridiculous. I have no life outside the life I live in, lands between. But yeah, I'm loving it. And look, it took something special to get me off Halo Infinite. This is definitely it.
Yeah, I feel ya. I wish I could spend more time with Elden Ring. When I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it. Umbra, welcome back, man. Love having you here, holding down the show as always, man. We know you've been playing Elden Ring. How are you finding it? What have you been up to? How's your week?
Man, you say playing it, I've been entrenched. I feel like I'm part of this thing now. I'm looking for Godfrey in real life. But I'm loving it, man. I'm over 60 hours in, about 65 hours now. Level like 84 or something like that. Man, I'm loving every second of it. And to me, it's one of the most accessible Souls games, so I can see why a lot of people are enjoying it and it sold as much as it did. But we'll talk more about that in a few. Just excited to talk with you guys. We're going to have a quick show today for everybody that's here with us in chat.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a short show. I've got a bit of something going on in the background there, so I will have to shorten the show up slightly. We won't be going the usual 5 hours, 3 hours that we normally do. But back to Elden Ring, you mentioned there that it is extremely accessible. I've never been a Souls player. I think I did. I tried Sekiro. I think I tried Dark Souls once, and it was like a nope for me, an immediate nope. And Sekiro, I made it to the first boss, and then that was it. It was too frustrating, and there was nowhere else for me to go. But you don't have that issue in Elden Ring. Elden Ring is accessible in a way that it is still as difficult as any Souls game has ever been, but you do not have to attempt a boss until you choose to do so. And in that way, I think it's extremely accessible, and probably why this game has been so popular. Look, to me, this game is definitely, I don't know about the game of the generation, probably as Pete said, but the game of last generation, definitely. I think we've got games on the way for this generation that's going to be stepping it up. And we'll be talking about what we think From Software will be doing in a little bit, but I'll go to Mav. Now, how have you been finding the game from the point of view of someone who isn't really a Souls player?
Yeah. Maybe this is the game of the cross generation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because this does bridge the gap right now. We're still in that era. You know what I mean? So, well, I think we're going to get the game of this generation, the next generation, that we're all enjoying now, like later on, when it's like 4 or 5 years from now, when they're like so far beyond what our expectations are currently. But as far as this goes, like Elden Ring, man, I battled really wanting to get into the Souls games, and then I got I have a certain level of patience, so the linear aspect of them has been what's been killing me with those games, because in order to grind before it, to get to where you could feel like you can beat that boss, you've had to like backtrack the areas that you've just been to, right? Do what you just did over and over and over again, right? And for me, this is much different, because if you hit that wall and you're thinking, okay, well, like, shoot, I'm outmatched. Like, I'm not, there's certain guys that have that skill level or just like super intense and like they dedicate themselves or just super hardcore. They may be able to beat these bosses earlier on, right? But some of us aren't like that, we hit that wall and it's like, okay, man, what do I do? And before, the Souls games always lost me because I lost my patience with that rinse and repeat cycle of the grind aspect of repeating those sections over and over and over again. And eventually I was just like, okay, I'm not enjoying the boss fight. He's kicking my ass. I don't like this section that I have to keep repeating or backtracking so much. So at some point I just kind of like, I don't feel like keep doing it, right? This is different because in this game, you can approach things in a way where it's like, okay, I hit a wall. I'm not ready to beat this boss, but I'm going to go explore. I'm going to go see what's out there in the world. I'm going to go see what kind of trouble I can get into, what else I can find. And then you meet those like mini bosses, those bosses that you discover yourselves by like finding a cave or a dungeon, that you didn't know. You found it yourself. There's nobody pointed it to you. There's nobody that told you there. It looked like it's well hidden. It's a rewarding thing. You go in there and it's a sense of discovery. There's like 8 wolves in here. There's crazy. There's a super giant one. I've never seen that before. You take them all out. You go in and then there's a boss in there. You take that boss out. It's like, holy cow, I just did that. I beat a boss. Like it's got a rewarding aspect. You take all of that, you grind, you start to finally be able to kill enemies that you were having trouble against easily. You start to feel more powerful. It's got that rewarding RPG grind aspect to it where it's not a repetitive grind. It's an exploration grind of feeling like you're achieving stuff, right? So
yeah, the system,
it's been really rewarding.
The system around your collectibles, your equipment, all that sort of stuff, really well done. And we were just saying, I think last night, that the enemy types, while some are similar, are really diverse. And so you're always finding something new, right?
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to come across. You see something like, oh, I've never seen that before, and you don't know it. Like, do you test the waters and take a swing at this thing, or is like, do you not, because you got a certain amount of souls, like, or runes stacked up? You don't want to take that chance. It's a risk versus reward scenario, right? So there's lots of things, and then the way that one of the best things for me in these games, and this has been true about every Souls game really, is they just throw you into the world, play, figure it out, right? And this one is even more rewarding in that aspect because there's so much to explore when you do so. But I get sick of games like with this long drawn out introduction process, like, here's how you do this, make sure you do this, and it's like I skip all those things. Like, I don't have the patience to read all those menus, all those screens, and take all this information. I'm gonna forget it anyway, right? I learn by doing, right? This game embraces that. It embraces learning by doing and experimenting and figuring things out, asking questions. If you got a question, look it up. All these different things. It embraces that challenge of like, hey, you're on your own here. Figure out how to survive. You need to go and figure out how to beat these bosses. You need to figure out how to use your magic, how to allocate your points, how to improve your equipment. All these things, you got to figure it out. And I really appreciate that about this game. And I think that's another aspect that people are really drawn to it, because we can get kind of sick of these so much hand holding.
Ubisoft.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. It doesn't even have to be like the most difficult game. Just like, don't hold my hand so much and treat me like a toddler trying to play this game. And it sometimes they drag out for like an hour and a half, 2 hours before you really even get to play, and this doesn't do that. So I think it's super inviting, and once people really get to see the world and try it out, they're recommending it. And that's why it's selling so well, man. I'm super impressed with it. There's something new. I'm coming across every single time I play, and then it's a constant test of like, should I do that or should I do something else? And when you do decide to do something else, you're rewarded for it. It's amazing. Love it.
Yeah, look, it feels like old school gaming, right? I put a post up on Twitter not long ago. I found a whole bunch of my magazines from back in the early Xbox days, but also from back in the Amiga and Commodore 64 games when games did not hold your hand. They were brutal, absolutely brutal. I don't know many Commodore 64 games that I actually finished, but I know Gladiator that again, you weren't really a Souls fan, or you are. You have played before. Is it your thing? How are you finding it?
Yeah, when it comes to this game in particular, or the Souls genre, for me, I've never been a big fan of super hard games, but Soul games are kind of games I jump on. But as far as the Dark Souls series, like 1 through 3, I haven't really played them. When it comes to Demon Soul, or the remake, the one that came out PS5, I bought it because there wasn't much to play on the console at the time. And I got it, and I actually fell in love with that version right there. And then I've done Bloodborne as well too, and some Sekiro. And that's the thing about like these Souls games; they're really known for those punishing boss battles, right? Like it's just you get to that place and you just gotta like hammer those bosses down, or pretty much like Mav said, you just gotta go to some farm spot where you think it makes the most sense. And then just farm up, get stronger, and then come back to the boss. But look, in the end of the day, this is the game that I think when I was growing up and I was playing the original Legend of Zelda, this is the feeling that I get from here, but in a way I could have never really imagined now come to fruition. So when I look at this game, I don't look at it as a Souls game. I look at it as its own thing. I look at this as Elden Ring, because yes, it has all the Souls DNA in there, which are a lot of the combat, the way that you spec itemization, all those different things. But it's the beauty of that open world, that danger that lies ahead, not knowing what's there, and the way the game just keeps introducing you to new things. It's absolutely amazing, and it's something that I thought people were somewhat capping for. Like I'm like, oh, y'all are just Soul fans, right? But there's something that when you play that game, it just it's like it's Souls, but in the backdrop, because what's in the forefront is the Elden Ring world, and that world is the beauty of it all. Because when I looked at something like Breath of the Wild, for example, bringing it back to Zelda again, it's one of my favorite series. To me, Breath of the Wild was amazing because of that open world where there was just so much in the map itself that brought it alive, right? But in that game, it's not like it's every few moments, right? Like you see something and you got to travel towards that thing. In this game, it's almost like every corner there's something interesting, whether it's creatures singing, or just big like harrowing monsters, or whatever it is. It's just so interesting everywhere, and they deserve so much credit for what they've done with this game. And then just the fact, all the different play styles, everything that has gone along with this game. I mean, I'll say the one thing, of course, they've added accessibility options. I do wish that in some ways they made the beginning parts a little bit easier. And I say a little bit easier in the sense of maybe have some higher stats to start off. Because even myself, I found places and ways that I could level up earlier, faster. And it still kept the challenge strong. Because in the end of the day, right now I'm level 93 with about, I don't know, like 50 hours exactly. Yeah, I'm like right around 50 hours, and I'm still getting my behind handed to me.
Mm-hmm.
This game is not easy, bro. It is not.
Now,
So
look,
all I'm saying, this is special.
Definitely, no, it's definitely not easy. And it's to me, it's an almost perfect game. It's pretty close to perfect. There are a few issues which we'll get into later, but Umbra, I know that you've played quite a few hours of the game, and you're like in your level 80s or something. How are you finding the game?
Oh, I think these gentlemen kind of share my sentiments exactly. Like I share their sentiments rather, because I've played the Souls games. I enjoy them. They are tough. They're tough enough to make me pause on getting back into one before I play other games, right? And I came into this knowing that I'm going to suffer, but it's still tough, like these guys just pointed out. But it's the most accessible in the Souls entry, I would say, by far. Simply because of all the things you can do, from like you're riding Torrent right now, which helps in taking out people, or if you're using magic, for instance, magic can be made to make it a little easier for you. And then you have the option, of course, of traveling around and grinding and building yourself up before you go and face these bosses. I like that part about the open world aspect of it too, and the fact that not only is this one gigantic ass map, but the fact that you can travel all around. I traveled all the way around to the capital city. Couldn't get in, but I traveled all the way to the capital city to fill the map up with those fragments, the map fragments, right? Couldn't get past the capital city because I have to do a certain thing before I can get in there. I don't want to give anything away. But I would say I have over 65 hours done right now. And most of that has been just me going to explore. I fought bosses that came way after the first boss, and I actually won. I fought this one boss later that's very reminiscent of the tree sentinel. I'll just say that later on in the game. But I fought him and beat him eventually. I suffered through it. But the thing I enjoy most about this is the fact that you can go and play it at your own pace. You can go do what you want to do. You can kind of create your own path of how you want to travel through this world. Now I'm coming back to Lingrave, and I'm kind of like one-shotting a lot of these enemies, so it's kind of funny when I suffered so much before that. But I'm loving it, man. I think From Software, I think this is their best work overall, period. I mean, there are a few issues. It's not a masterpiece, but it's very close. If I had to rate it right now, after 65 plus hours into it, I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's that damn good to me.
Oh, 100%. But we know what Fon says. You can't rate a game until you've completed absolutely everything in the game. Jedi! How you feeling about the game so far? You're a dyed-in-the-wool Souls player, have played every single iteration. Where are you at with this game?
Look, I think everyone knows by the amount I've been playing it how much I love it. I would rate it a 9.5-ish, just because of getting into co-op is a little bit convoluted, and the frame rate drops. I wish it was a next-gen only game. I think that would have really helped it. But in terms of the game itself, I mean, it's amazing. What else can I say? I think I said it last week as well. So I'm about level 55, 60 now. I just finished the main boss at Stormville Castle, and then have moved off to the Raya Lucaria Academy. Yeah, look, so I was going through Lingrave. I was doing really well. I was feeling really powerful, so I moved on to the Weeping Peninsula, still feeling a little bit powerful. Moved over to Arena of the Lake, still feeling pretty powerful. I got the Caelid. There's like about 1 million dragons there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready for this. And that's what I love about the game. So and I think Mav said it really, really well. Should I take a swing at this character? Should I swing my sword and find out, if I can, fight this person? And I love that, because every single NPC can kill you in this game. So swinging your sword is a decision that you have to make. And I absolutely love that about it. In saying that, I was on Community Game like last night, and we were meant to play Knockout City, but everybody was on Elden Ring, and that's what this game does. We've pretty much drawn all our community into this game, and I love that. And it's a really, really good community game to play over party chat, because everybody's experiencing different things, but everybody can help each other out. Like, so, a friend will be in a certain situation, and they're like, okay, I didn't know that about the game, or that sounds really cool, I think I'll go there next. And the community that has been built around this game has been great. Now, some of the messages left on the ground are absolutely stupid. Some of them are great. And when you're in a group, so if you go down to your multiplayer messages and put yourself into a group, their death stains and their messages will show up more for you, so your group can really help you out and lead you into, like, so if your group has put a message down, that it's most likely going to be a good message. It's going to direct you in the right direction, or you can watch their blood stain and see how they died and realize, okay, this area is going to be a little bit difficult. And I love that community aspect of the game. I think the game really shines due to that, and the mechanics, the gameplay, it's very similar to Dark Souls. I mean, there's been a few things added, like riding a horse and Ashes of War and things like that, but I mean, Souls games gameplay was always amazing. The difference between this one is the size of the game. I mean, you just keep getting map fragments, and it just keeps opening up, and then when you think you've opened it all up, you'll go down a dungeon, and underneath the world is a world that's as big as the world on top. And it's just amazing how much content is in this game. For $60, I might add. This is what games are meant to be. Yeah, I live, breathe, sleep, dream Elden Ring. It's amazing. If I wasn't on this podcast, I'd be playing it right now.
It's amazing that they're able to make this game and keep it at $60, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I thought they all needed to go up. That's what they were.
Right.
And no microtransactions, Matt. No microtransactions either.
It's insane. Guess what? They're gonna sell so many copies that it doesn't matter. So just make good games.
Make good games. You hit it right on the head. And this is an incredible value. And this is something that I probably wouldn't mind spending a 70 on, just because they put so much on it. I don't want to give them any ideas. Don't raise it. But but it has so much content, like you said, Jedi. Like, I was shocked at how much of the world, when I kept traveling, like, okay, there's more. All right. Thought that was the end of it. Nope. This part of the map didn't fill up. Okay. And then I looked and actually saw the map online. I was like, oh, damn. Okay. So, and like you said, it's even underground areas. Like, I don't want to give anything away, but it's like, this is a ridiculous size. So when people were questioning before, I remember people were like, oh, where's Elden Ring? We haven't heard anything about Elden Ring. This is why. They were busy taking care of such a massive game. So I'm impressed, honestly, by From Software. I think, like I said, there are some things that I absolutely would change. And we spoke on it, and we'll go more into detail. I suppose.
How
are we
going
going into that
game in COVID, Umbra? Like, everybody else is having problems.
I don't know.
Then released this masterpiece, and most of it has been developed in the last 2 years. It's just amazing what they've been able to do.
It really is. It really is. Are we going to actually delve into this right now, like on what we would have change or whatever?
Now that you're bringing the problems up, actually, look, there is a few issues I have found with the game. Look, I like the way the game doesn't hold your hand. I like the exploration, the idea of, like, looking over into the distance. You see a tower, you're like, ooh, what's over there? I'll go check that out. You look over into the distance again, you're like, this is too hard. What's over there? I'll go check this out. That's even harder. But look, there's a few things in it that could be helpful. So for me, for my personal preference, and I know this is not everyone's, but I've found it to be an overwhelming everyone's in agreement, is the quest logs. It's really hard to keep track of the quests and what's going on, and I don't want to be told where to go, but I would like to have some sort of written parchments, or like a screen that I go to. So I'm like, so much happens in each section of the game. So if you go to the castle, just the castle itself is massive, like one of the first areas. And there's a few things that happen that kick your quests along, but there's already a few things that have happened back in Limgrave that are quests also. So by the time you get through the castle, you've probably got about 4 or 5 quests, depending on if you've picked them up or not. And they're really hard to keep track of what's going on, who's who, where they are, where you need to go, the clues, etc. I just think a quest log would make this game a little bit smoother. What do you think, Gladiator? Would you appreciate a quest log within Elden Ring, or do you think it's not Souls-like?
I mean, look, it's something that could obviously help, and these are some of the questions towards accessibility, right? But clearly, it's not a matter of they couldn't, right? Like, it was a design choice. Like, they wanted to do that because they wanted to engage their players in that way. Now, I mean, yes, it's a welcome thing, but even with games like this, like Souls games and things of this nature, that's where I think the community piece really helps. Like the massive wikis that are out there, your friends, like, hey, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? Like, it creates this extra level of community engagement I think is also very special.
It absolutely does. You're absolutely right. Us personally in our group, the Gaming Night, we're constantly helping each other out. So that's a very good point. So you believe what you're saying is that if they were to have quest logs, that would take something away from the community itself.
Yeah, it really would have, right? Because we just follow, we just look at it. It's like navigation there, right? But it is
becomes
that
like every
that really
other
helps.
Ubisoft game. Where you then just follow the pointer, follow the quest marker, and I think it gets back to Gladiator, what I said before about the community aspect of this game, and how much that draws people in, and how much it's a party chat game. And I think it will take away from it, mate.
Yeah, and look, it's a valid criticism for people that want it, right? But I do think all the design choices they made really helped create the experience.
The way they have the systems too, with the messages that you can leave, right?
Yeah.
Like those are in the game for that purpose as well. It creates the sense of the community helping each other to figure the game out themselves, as opposed to the game carrying you along the way, right? So, in the essence of what Souls games are all about, and the way that they implemented that, plus also, you got your bloodstains, you can see how they died, or that there's somebody approaching. And now there's obviously people that try and use the system to trick us, right?
Well, on that,
however,
on that, just briefly, I just wanted to throw this in there. I think there should definitely be a punishment for a downvote on a message. You get a reward you get a flask for leaving a good message. But there's
I agree with that.
so many stupid messages in stupid places. I think that stupid messages should win stupid prizes. Sorry to cut you off.
I like
get rump message.
I like when I see the person that like lies, like hidden path ahead, but then like somebody else leaves a message, liar ahead.
I do it all the time.
That's amazing.
I do it all the time. I did it a minute ago.
Like
I love that.
That aspect of it, like, which we didn't have that for the first like 3 days on Xbox, because the online functionality wasn't working at all. But like once that opened up, it even changed the game even more for me and made it even better. Not that I've been playing co-op with anybody, but just that social aspect of seeing that, and it's actually been really helpful a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like, I'll sit there and read the message. Okay, I need to make sure I'm careful going into this area. Things like that, there'll be like somebody that says, "Oh, treasure ahead," or like something ahead, or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna go check that out. So, a quest log in and of itself, I think it could turn into too much of like what you guys were talking about, like the Ubisoft type formula. Or you just click and you just go, and you click and you go, and then. Even if you choose not to use it, knowing it's there, it always becomes a crutch. The fact that this game has no crutch is something that makes it unique, and it creates that conversation and creates that dialogue, creates all of us becoming the quest log in ourselves and all that stuff. And that's one thing I find really refreshing about this game.
I do agree to a degree. Sorry, Jedi. I was just going to say I do agree to you guys to a degree, but with a game this massive, not having a quest log to me doesn't really add up, because some of these quests, and I've done maybe one or two, some of them are so far off that you would not have any idea where to go next, and plenty of people have not, by the way. And if you continue on and you progress forward, some of those quests will end. So that's why I think for that they absolutely do need it for a game this size. Personally,
Do they end? Like, I know that they've made it a little bit. Okay.
No, some of them you can't even complete after you do a certain part. So that's problematic for me because I'm a completionist. So if I play a game and then I can't access something because I beat that boss, now I'm mad. You see, when if I had the option to know, or at least hey, track this mission, or at least don't allow it to end. Don't allow me to lose out on that. That matters to me. I do agree with you guys as far as the community aspect. I think that's pretty dope. But then, as you pointed out, Jedi, you have some people who share stupid messages that don't really lead to anything. So you have a lot of that too, and that's why they need to add that punishment aspect that Risk brought up. I agree with that because I do like, by the way, that if you get an appraisal, you'll get energy and such. I like that a lot. It actually helped me out one time. But other than that, I think at the risk even of coming off as a Ubisoft game in that way, I still think it needs to be a log of what to do as far as little side quests go. At the very least, side quests.
It kind of reminds me now the way it is of like the games back in the day, like the RPGs, when like they didn't really. We had to get the strategy guide to figure everything out, right?
Exactly.
Before Google,
so true.
So we had to get if you were a completionist or you wanted to figure everything out, you wanted to get all the secrets, you wanted to go and explore everything, you wanted to finish all the quests, all the side quests, you needed the strat guide, right? And you paid that extra $20 to get that strat guide at launch, right? That was ready to go. And by the time you're done with the game, was that?
It's called Extra Life these days, isn't it?
Yep. And back in the day, by the time you're done with the game, like the pages are all falling out of it, right? Because it made them so cheap. There's no binding. You know what I mean? So you had like these pages that all fell out of it. You had when you open it up, they all come out, right? This takes me back a little bit to those days. Games like Final Fantasy Tactics, different genre, right? It's a tactics game. But I remember me and my buddy like going through there with the guide and figuring out how to unlock Cloud, right? And how to find all these different things. And I do appreciate that. I get what you're saying too, because like completionists that really want to have that and just be able to access it in the in-game menus and see what the next step is. I think that could be very helpful. But for me also, like we have Google for that and stuff too. Like I don't know if it necessarily has to be in the game in and of itself in this day and age, right? Because we have so many tools at our disposal to figure that out, right? So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. Like I get what people are saying, and this kind of also goes to the discussion of people saying, "Hey, should there be like difficulty sliders for more accessibility for everybody can enjoy the game?"
No,
and all this stuff, and and all these different conversations. And it's like people have good points about everything, but I'm of the mind that I'm purely 100% with the creatives, and if it's a creative decision for the aspect of that's what they want and that's what they want people to experience within the game, then that's what I want to experience.
Oh, look,
right?
I 100% agree with that. I agree with that. That's absolutely a fair point, and it's always should be down to what the devs want you to experience because that's the experience they want to give you. So I 100% agree with that. What I'm saying is
optimized better though.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'm saying is I'm way too old to be able to remember all of this shit. So I can't remember. Like I went here and old mate told me over here, and I went here and old mate told me to go over here. I'm not talking about map markers and direct me to here and direct me to there, and I don't want that. I just want to with what the person said to me. Basically, you can have a screen. Is my imagining with what the person has said, the person's name, and that's it. That's all I would want to at least go there and go. Oh, okay, old mate told me about this. 22 hours ago, and now I remember it. So I'm not pushing for a Ubisoft remake. Jedi, I know you feel strongly about Souls games. You are a dyed-in-the-wool Souls player, so I get where you're coming from 100%.
I think games have become a little bit spoilt when it comes to being told where to go, what to do. Look, and I understand where people are coming from, and especially with this game, it was a little bit different in the Souls games because they were more condensed. They were more linear. Whereas with this game, you can just go in any which direction, and so you do lose track of who you spoke to, what they said to you, where they told you to go. But I wanted to say that they've made it like that for a reason. I do understand it, but Autism was saying to me that he's got he's got notes on his phone. He's playing it, and I think you made a really good point. He's playing it like an old Dungeons and Dragons board game, where he is actually writing things down so he remembers where to go next. And I think we've lost that as gamers. We've become too accustomed to games just holding our hand. We've been too accustomed to go to this marker, find this. Whereas with this one, you are going to have to take notes. You are going to have to remember what somebody said 20 hours earlier. Now, like I said, it is a little bit different to the Souls games because they were more linear. And I don't know. I'm really torn because I don't want them to change the mechanics, because I think if they do, it will take away from that community aspect. It'll take away from those cool messages that lead you in the right direction. It'll take away from your friends telling you, hey, don't forget to do this. And then it'll just become like another Ubisoft game. Follow this quest marker and do that. So I don't know how they can work around it. I don't know. It's difficult.
Well,
we're all loving the game, aren't we? I mean, we're nitpicking now, but wow, this game is amazing at the end of the day. So they must have done something right.
Oh, absolutely. And you go. You're right.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, well, I think this is one of those situations where, because we're used to the landscape of what gaming has provided to us up to this point, it was almost an expectation. So then when you actually go in and then you start having all these quests happen or all this dialogue and not even realizing that that actually was a quest, in the end of the day, you might be taken aback, like, oh, wow, I should have written this down. And it's a convention in gaming right now that's not common at all. So I can understand when somebody like Umbra says, man, you know, like you just gave me all these quests and I didn't realize I had to do this and that, because that absolutely has happened to me. And as a matter of fact, there was an item that I was looking for that I went through the wiki to try to figure out where it was. And then it said you had to go to this person, get this item, bring it back to that person, and then go to this area. And I'm like trying to find this person, and I didn't even realize that I had done it already based off of the scope of this game, you know? So it's like, yeah, there's a lot you could kind of lose and forget along the way without a log. But the experience that I'm having through this, you know, knowing that everything's blind and it's on me to keep track of it, I think that's just special, and I wouldn't want to get rid of it.
Yeah,
You
You know what I'll say? I'll say I feel sorry for the people writing the wiki for this game.
You can always do my method and just randomly stumble into things, because I'm never going to remember anything. I don't care enough to write anything down. I don't care enough to look anything up. I just like live in the world, and if I stumble upon something cool, that's awesome. Now, second playthrough, like it maybe I would get into that aspect, you know. But yeah, there's just so much, man. I feel like there's just so much stuff here that.
There's consequences as well for what you do, which I love.
Stumble into something bad too.
Yeah, like
I've done it a few times.
I killed an NPC that provides me spells. I didn't know. I kind of thought I had to, and then I murdered this poor woman, and now I can't get spells. So like, I love that about the game. Once you've done something, you can't take it back.
Where is she at?
But risk it. You can bring her back, can't you? Because,
yes, I can. Yeah. I found out how to. But that's the thing. Then I had to go find out how to. I didn't look it up, but I found out from the community. So look, I absolutely agree with you guys. That is definitely that brings more to the community. We're all talking about the game. And it's another good thing for marketing, really, because we're all talking about the game. I've brought in, I think, 2 people into this game. Jedi's brought in a few people into this game. You talk to your friends about it. We're bringing everyone in. Copies are getting sold. From Software's getting rich. Their next game's going to be Fire. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there's a couple other issues I definitely want to nitpick, even though Pong Souls told me to stop whinging. Look, stat. There's a couple of things, and I'll join them together so we can move forward onto what we think is going to be happening from the future. Comparing your stats. Now, look, I don't think that. Look, again, it's the writing it down. I've had to write down the stats of each weapon every time I've got a new weapon, and then if I'm looking at flicking it to a new weapon, I've got all those stats written down. But I don't think it's too difficult. I don't think it takes away much from the game if we have a stat comparing mechanic within the menu.
Oh, that needs to be done. Yeah, well said, mate. Yeah, well said.
It's and then having to jump backwards and forwards, write things down. It just takes a little too much time. So that said, I don't think that anyone could disagree with me on that one. So I'm going to move forward to the other issue that I think is major, and I've been saying it since the tech test. The multiplayer is too convoluted. I understand that they have a Souls way of doing things, but at this point, to bring in 3 players is different to bringing in one single player to help you. And look, I understand as well that Souls games traditionally would allow you to bring a player in, help you with a boss, and that player goes back to their world. And so I'm glad that they've kept that within the game, and that's not an issue to me. I personally would like to see the whole game co-opted, but I understand the design choice, and I don't have any issues with that. I have an issue with how ridiculously convoluted the multiplayer is, and to explain it to someone is like a 10-minute dialogue, and then you may not even get it right. And also the tech issues, because the multiplayer isn't working cross-region. So that's another issue. You may explain it to someone, they're like, I give up on this co-op because it just doesn't work. Have you had any issues with the co-op, Gladiator? Have you been co-oping?
So like I've only used the co-op certain areas. I used it in particular in one boss that was just pretty challenging. I was like, all right, I'm probably lower than I should. And it was a great situation because I was able to go in, slap the shield on, got 2 casters to come join me, and they did pretty much all the work because I was just tanking in the front, right? So I love the aspects of multiplayer that come in here. But in trying to find people for that, I went through several different groups, and like one group in particular, it was so laggy. I was like, what the hell is going on over here? Like, this is ridiculous. But I've also had a very weird issue, and it makes me think, is this a game design thing, or is it actually a problem with the game, where there was a strange behavior by the enemy when I try to bring somebody in there. So just to make sure that it's not a game decision thing, I won't say exactly what it was or what happened, but it makes me think like there could be a lot more refinement in this whole process. But at the same time, it's a welcome addition to having these games, because, man, sometimes you just need help from a friend. You just need a little help from a friend, right?
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. No singing on this podcast. Unless it's Umbra. He sounds smooth.
Yeah, look, I know Pete doesn't like to play the. We're having a sing along. I know Pete doesn't like to play the game with co-op, and I completely understand his reasoning for it. He likes to feel that accomplishment that he did it himself. But for us newbies to the Souls thing, I just think it would make the game a lot more accessible, and I think they need to work on those issues, frame rate issues, the tech issues behind the multiplayer, and I would assume that there's a reason for that design choice, for having a different a summoning pool for a third player, as opposed to just having your finger that you cut off and stick on the ground for a second player. Mav, have you tried co-oping? You did say before you haven't done any co-oping. Have you had a crack at it?
No, my co-op has been streaming and my chat telling me what to do. That has been all the help I've needed, and they get a kick out of me dying over and over again. So no, I mean, eventually I may, but I'm kind of like, I don't want somebody to come in and beat the boss for me either. You know what I mean? Because I remember playing a Souls game before. I don't remember which one, and I got to try out the co-op stuff, and then they summoned this guy, and he came in, and he just kind of like ran through everybody in front of me, and I was like, okay, that was cool. I'm further now, but I didn't really do anything, and I didn't really feel rewarded back then when I tried that. So I'm trying to stay away from it. Now, if I do co-op, it'll probably be with somebody of like the same level or roughly around the same level as me, and just a friend just to hang out and like kind of, you know. But I guess if you can't just explore anywhere, then it would be during certain times, right? So, you know, it's nothing really that I honestly even care too much about. This is for me more of a single player experience, but it has a community aspect to it. It's a social single player game for me.
Yeah, look,
and I do like that that's there for people that really have that challenge and like, okay, I need some help. I can't do it. You know, so that's great that it has it, but I don't plan on using it. Instead, I'll use all the advice that the chat gives me when we're streaming the game, which has been very helpful actually. So.
Yeah, well said, Matt. I like single playing it as well, but I do like that option that it's in there.
Yeah.
So if you have to do a boss, you can bring in a friend to help you, because there's some of the bosses in this game are incredibly difficult. And you know what? We want everyone to get to the end. We want everyone to experience the whole game. So I've got no problem with people co-oping at all. I prefer not to. But at the end of the day, if I need help with a boss that I just can't beat and I want to progress the story, and I've given it my go, I've given it a good go, and I've leveled up and I still can't do it, by all means, I'll bring a friend in. I won't feel bad about that. These games are difficult at the end of the day.
Look, Palpatine's got a question down there in the chat. If you do have a question, just type question in your chat and it will highlight it to me, and we will definitely ask the panel. If you have just joined us, we're talking Elden Ring, as everyone in the industry is right now. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. It really helps us out. Share it out. Tell your grandma, tell your dad, tell everyone, tell a friend. Look, Palpatine said...
on what you were saying, yeah, sorry, risk it before as well. I don't understand why, and I think they will add a comparison mechanic to the game. I mean, going through a shield and having to remember all the numbers that it does for specific types of damage, it's just stupid. There should be a button to be able to compare those two shields together. It makes no sense that it's not there. It really doesn't. In terms of the co-op thing, I don't understand why, if you want to bring 3 people in, you have to go to a summoning pool, whereas if you want to bring 2 people in, you just have to put your sign down. That makes no sense to me, because if there's a summoning pool there, that means you can co-op. There's no difference to it. And if you have the co-op mechanics in the game, why can't you just run the whole game together? Why do you have to get kicked out at the end of a boss battle? It makes no sense. You should that decision should be up to you. You shouldn't have to go back to another summoning pool to summon someone else once you finish the boss. Or, you know, I don't understand that aspect. I think that one could be changed as well. You know, at the end of the day, it's your choice whether or not you want to co-op or not. So just make it a little bit easier. It's way too convoluted. The amount of times I've explained to someone that they have to use a calling finger remedy, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? It's just, it's annoying.
I agree. This one of the things I dislike about the game is the convoluted kind of way it is. It has the same issue like Yakuza has, where it has these messy menu situation things on a UI where it should just be made simple. Click this to bring in a multiplayer, option or whatever, or co-op. So just make it simple. The extra little grab this finger and sacrifice this. It's like, okay, why? But that's one of the things I spoke on that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. I haven't even really tried it just because it's so extra. I was like, nah. Plus, like Mav pointed out, I do like having it where I'm kind of just like doing my own thing and I'm not subjected to anyone else winning that fight for me. So I feel him on that. I'm kind of the same when it comes to that. Although
it's just a personal choice too. You know what I mean? It's like I have nothing against anybody that takes the other approach either. And like I saw somebody that's in the chat, like, I may later on help other people.
He has to co-op bosses. He's not good enough, mate.
Yeah, I just
my
do it.
Summon though, that's the funniest part. Summons are so strong that it kind of helps beat the boss on his own nowadays.
Well, look, that's the thing. That is why I'll call someone in. Is if I want to get through a boss quickly and I don't want to go away and farm and then come back and beat the boss, I'll call someone in to co-op. But I'll quickly get to Doovie's question because he did ask a question. We have to get to it. Is Elden Ring AAA or AA? For me, AAA. It's definitely AAA.
That's not even a question, is it, Doovie? I mean, honestly, mate, of course it's
Yeah, it's not a
AAA.
question.
Yes, it has frame drops, and yes, it's not the most beautiful game. But have you seen the size of the world? I mean, what game out there looks this good and has the size of the world that is this big, with no load screens in between areas? I mean, it's definitely AAA.
You've upset Peter.
I think the
calling
reason
his,
why
calling his
the reason why some people
game
ask
double
the
A.
question is because they think it matters about the graphical fidelity and things like that. It comes into play, obviously. They spend a lot to make that, but anything that's a AA or AAA is all about the budget. And I'm pretty sure they spent over 80 million to make this game. So definitely AAA.
Well, can you imagine what this is going to do for From Software? You know, the sales of this game. It's going to launch them to another place. You know, they're going to be able to do so much more now because
the Dark Souls franchise already did that, didn't it, Mav? And this is just going to a new level.
I mean,
on top
none
that,
of them
isn't it,
have
mate?
sold anything like this, though. Like before, the Souls genre, even though it was popular, it was still kind of niche, right? It still had its like hardcore audience. This is mainstream, right? This is like you're talking about numbers like Red Dead Redemption and GTA and like Skyrim and games like that. Now we're in that territory. We're not in the Dark Souls, Demon Souls territory, Bloodborne anymore. We're talking about probably like 5 times the sales numbers within the first week of any of those games at launch.
Yeah, FOMO has really helped this game, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The open world aspect, all the changes that they made to make this game happen. Elden Ring is going to be a household name like a lot of these other big franchises, and it's going to launch From Software and all of that studio, and this is going to become one of the biggest IPs out there.
Yeah, so Riska did want to talk about where does FromSoft go from here, Mav. So, I mean, Elden Ring 2, obviously, where do you want them to see them go?
I want to see make a true next-gen only experience that'll launch later in the generation to improve the optimization, improve the performance, some of the graphical fidelity, and kick it up a notch. You know, use all the resources that they're getting from this that they've never had before From Software. I mean, you can go back in their history. They've been a very successful studio at making a lot of great games, but they've never had anything that's taken off like this, right? And to have something like this now that has been this successful and has gone mainstream, they can take those resources to make their dream scenario, right? So take Elden Ring, make Elden Ring 2, and just kick it into another gear. And we could see the same gameplay, the same artistry, the same kind of character design, but brought to us in a new, with a new shine, right? Like the next gen only stuff that just blows our mind. And that's what is next for them, because this is very much why I said cross-generational game. It's the cross-generational game is because this is in that era still, right? Because you could see this easily playing for me on a PS4, Xbox One X, you know, PS4 Pro and stuff. It may not run 60 frames, 30 frames. I could see this graphically and stuff performing on those games. We saw a lot of games that are big like this play on those consoles that have the same kind of graphical fidelity as this. Now, I want to see that with next gen visuals and all this kind of stuff, you know, going forward, and what they do next. So, the Elden Ring 2 is going to be amazing.
Do you feel strongly about making a new engine? Do you still feel that way?
Here's the thing, right? When these studios make these new engines, right, it takes them so long. And they usually run into a lot of problems, right? So I don't know what engine they're using currently. But the engine is not optimized very well. They've said that themselves, right? So they run into some optimization issues. If you have FreeSync or VRR or whatever, you don't really notice this stuff. But like if I play on one of my displays that doesn't have that, it's jarring at first. Yeah. You know, it kind of melts away. You get used to it, but you know, you turn the camera and it gets jittery really quick. So is that because of the engine? If it's because of the engine, then they definitely need to figure out a way around that or improve it. But again, you look at all of these devs that said, okay, we're going to build a new engine to really support the next gen and all this stuff in the future. Man, it takes them so long. They run into a lot of problems, and you're talking about waiting really long time sometimes for that next game. So it's not as simple as like, hey, we're just going to make a new engine. You're talking about like 6 to 10 years potentially for the next big game if they're doing it coinciding with the new engine, right?
Yeah,
So that's
I
the
agree with
catch.
that.
That's the catch.
And I don't think this game's been fully optimized for this generation anyway. I think because
No.
it's a cross-generation game, they've basically just upped the resolution and the frame rate a little bit. So what I want to see before we really, I know Risket was pretty passionate about them maybe updating their engine because it is quite an old engine. I'll let him speak for himself, but I want them to see, and then that next gen patch comes out, if these frame rate issues are sorted, if the screen tearing issues are sorted, and I think that will go a long way in alleviating any problems people have, and also see what direction that From Software does go with Elden Ring 2 now that they have got this absolutely massive market. But what do you think about that, Gladiator? What do you think about changing the engine or rejigging it or maybe even rebuilding it for their next game?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, it's very much what Mav says. There's a giant like risk reward kind of situation that happens with it. And then you also talk about how much longer it can delay whatever next game that comes out. But when I think about what exactly is next for this company, I'm wondering if now they're trapped into creating an open world games, because I think they might have reached the level where fans, like their new fans, right? There's going to be so many new fans of this that if they go into more of the linear type of game, they're not going to enjoy it as much as this one. And I can tell you right now, I'm one of those people. So I don't know. It's a weird thing that's going to happen to them. I just want them to stay creative and stay fresh, because I could not imagine that making this world as big and creative and diverse as it was an easy task. And then to really drive that to the next generation, just adding that many more graphics, assets, increasing graphical fidelity, all those things, is not going to be small work. And what happens at this point? Does that mean they now have to hire upon a lot more people that may not fit the From Software, the DNA, the stuff that made them unique to begin with? Because it's the same problem that Pokemon has, that their studio, Game Freak, it's a very small studio, and they keep making stupid amount of money. But one of the reasons why they say that they don't add more people is because they want to make sure that they're creating the games that they want, and with more people, it just makes management harder. And it moves away from their vision.
FromSoft did add, I think, 200 to 300 people after Dark Souls 3 to work on Elden Ring. So they already did expand after making Dark Souls 3. But I understand where you are coming from. If you want to keep that DNA there, and I'm talking about that, Gladiator. Do you want them to make Sekiro 2? Because it is going to be linear. Do you want them to make Bloodborne 2? Or do you want them to make Elden Ring 2 and focus just purely on open world games? Like, I know there's been a lot of calls for Bloodborne 2 specifically from the PlayStation community. They're really waiting for that game, and there are rumors that they are making it in the background. Do they change our
Also,
Bloodborne
Sekiro 2 being exclusive to Xbox, by the way.
Yep, exactly. Yep, because it's owned by Xbox now. Well said, Umbra. Yep. So, well, what do you think about that? Do you think they should just give up on making Bloodborne or Sekiro and focus on Elden Ring and focus on the open world aspect?
I think they've got such a hit on their hands with Elden Ring that we're unlikely to see a Bloodborne or a Sekiro in the same vein as a Dark Souls. I think if they're going to go to a sequel for either of those titles, and I would love them to do a sequel for Bloodborne. I did play a little tiny bit of that game and I loved it, but something took me away. You know how it is with backlog. I would love them to do a sequel for Bloodborne in the same vein as Elden Ring. I do think I definitely wanted to speak on where they go and what I think their direction should be from here in what I would like to see from their next game. And I always want to see new IPs. I always want to see new IPs, so a new IP would be absolutely amazing in the same vein. They're all Souls games, let's be honest, with different dressings on them, but I would really like to see that engine updated. Graphically, it is not an ugly game. I'm not saying it's an ugly game. I'm not saying graphically it's poor. I love the art style, the pastel colors. It suits the genre. It is, I think, in the genre. But I would like to see a next-gen version of this game. You cannot deny that this game is most definitely a cross-gen version. And the things that we've talked about, the stat comparing, the punishing poor messages, the multiplayer issues, I would like to see them update that in their new engine. I think there's not really a whole lot different that they should do. This game is such a hit. I think if I was From Software, I would realize what I have on my hands, and I would update the engine and just really make it one of the most beautiful games, as well as one of the most engaging games, which it already is. And I think that should definitely be their direction. Umbra, do you think that they should really change anything mechanically? I think mechanically they've nailed this game 110%.
Mechanically, I agree with you. I think it's setting that Souls type of gameplay, so I think changing it would hurt more than it would help, just because of the fan base. But I think they can add to it, though. You can add flair. You can add, because they have if you see some of the weaponry on here that you can actually get, they have a flair in this game that I haven't seen in other Souls games. Like, really crazy stuff you can do in this game. Like, well, I really like that they went all out for that. I think they can experiment more on animation, though. They can add more animation to how you move. I mean, if you look at the enemies, how they move, it's pretty spectacular. I'm actually very impressed just by the scale of them and how they move and do what they do. And it just keeps you engaged in that fight. I'm actually very impressed by it. But I'll say this, I agree with you 100%, and you and Gladiator, as far as visual fidelity, it's something that's clear that this is a cross-gen game. I would definitely, like you and Jedi and everybody said, make it next-gen only or current-gen only, and really focus on that. Maybe a new engine to really push that. Use something that really make it pretty. Not to say that this game isn't, because I've taken some visuals, some screenshots. If you all haven't seen it, check my page out on Twitter. I've gotten some posts, and I'm going to post more. The game is absolutely gorgeous as far as the art style. I think they've got that part nailed. Like, that's not even a question anymore. But as far as visuals and fidelity, as far as that goes, absolutely they can make it better. I'll go first. But they definitely need them. I don't know why it's not in there. And honestly, it kind of surprised me. Although you can remove your hood, so I guess kind of. But I'll say this too.
You can't remove your character, and there's some of the backgrounds that you just don't want your character in there. But I agree. I've looked at some of the pictures you've taken on Twitter, and they are amazing. I've posted a couple of mine to the Xbox chat as well. This game is beautiful. It really is.
It is. I'll go a step further as far as what I would have them do. I think the open world thing, I think they got a hit here. I think they need to continue that going forward. I think they set the precedent. You got to keep it going, as far as Elden Ring, at least. I would say maybe add in a little, something that kind of struck me riding around on Torrent, and that double jump. I started to think, would it be too much to have a double jump as a character when you're running around? Would Souls players get mad at that? Because I started thinking, like, damn, if only I could double jump to get on that ledge right there. I don't know. Maybe if you can get an ability or power up or something and that allows you to do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing too much.
Power up to jump higher, but you are a human. Humans can't double jump, and the torrent is really.
I mean, humans can.
Well, now with that attitude.
You ain't got thrusters on his legs like the Master Chief or a grapple. Maybe a grapple. Hey, after what Halo Infinite did, just chuck a grapple in everything.
I will say one thing. I wish there was a glider in this game, because there were a few times I'm like, oh, I just want to glide up over there.
Look, that kind of feeds in.
I'll say this, just to add this last part, what I would actually do as far as what I think they should do. I don't think they would, so is this kind of just wishful thinking, but a game of this caliber, as beautiful as it is art style wise, and as beautiful as it is in scope, and as big as it is in scope, if they would have added a little more, I guess, Hollywood as far as the actual voice acting, when it goes to like cut scenes, that would have taken it up to another level for me.
And facial animations. facial animations
Absolutely.
as well.
And
They're terrible.
Absolutely, because even when you talk with characters in the world, it's just like, oh, hey, it's like, okay, they're just sitting there. It just seems cheap compared to how everything else comes across. And when you I look at games like AAA games like Red Dead Redemption 2 or The Last of Us, look at how engaged those things are when they actually have character moments and stuff. I think if they can do that, it'll add an extra little depth to it and actually have you care, I think, about those characters or your character more.
Your voice at the start. When you're picking your voice at the start of the game, it's basically 10 different grunts.
Right.
Yeah. So Umbra, to your point, dude, I had just beat Horizon Forbidden West like right before I moved into Elden Ring, and I'm gonna tell you that the way they made those characters look, like even like NPCs, like regular as people you find on the road, I was completely amazed. Like I wanted to listen to every bit of dialogue. I just wanted to be a part. Like I felt like I was a part of that world. And that level, like if they can somehow bring that level of fidelity into this type of game, it would just, like, I can't even imagine what that game would be. Amazing.
Same way. I feel the exact same way. I mean, like, look at we have a template for this. I mean, like I said, look at The Witcher 3. No matter what anyone tells me, that is right there. That's a masterpiece right there. That and Red Dead Redemption 2 are my games of the gen last year, 8th gen. When I look at that, and you look at the side missions, look at the total package of that. It's complete. I mean, voice acting is solid. Animation is top tier when it comes to that part on the cutscenes and things like that. I absolutely think they can add that element in these types of games, or at least inside of Elden Ring too. I think they can. I mean, and they're making money hand over fist. Why not?
And we're about.
I'd like to see them go as well, Umbra. I think that I didn't really think about it, but that is very well said. In saying that, I went through one of the best cutscenes I've seen in the game when I was coming up against the boss battle, which I don't want to ruin, but it's incredibly creepy and just cool. But yeah, I agree. If they could just get those animations down and maybe the lip syncing down a little bit better, it would raise this game to another level.
I was going to move on to the next topic, but just briefly, there's one thing that we haven't covered Elden Ring wise. Look, and this might be unpopular opinion, but story-wise, I am about 65 hours into the game, and I have absolutely no idea what's going on. so I've got no clue.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm kind of in the same boat. I have somewhat of an idea, but that's still kind of like, okay, it's vague.
It's very vague. I would like to see in their next iteration a bit more. It does feel story-wise very, very Japanese. Like I do have some sort of a clue what's going on, but I mean it's very, very, like you said, very, very vague. And obviously because the world's so open and it can be long stretches of periods before you go to a cutscene or to a major boss battle, or you might do them in a different order even. And so the story kind of is pieced together for you. It's really hard to kind of follow. I don't know, I'd like to see a bit more of an... I'm sure it'll all come together in the end, and I haven't finished the game, so this may be jumping the gun.
But I don't know about that, mate. They never have in the past.
That goes to the point.
Yeah.
That goes to the point we pointed out before this, where we were saying like having a little something in the journal or something would help. Like stuff like that would help. Hey, you defeated such and such. Make sure you go to this because, this person is escaping or whatever. How they're doing it. Something like that should absolutely be in there in a journal somewhere.
Oh, look, yeah. I just something written down so you've got something in order, and I agree with you can see what you've done and what you've completed. Roderick the Black has been defeated. You can now go tarnish your felled finger or whatever, and that's important to the story. Just something.
I've got you calling him Roderick now. Sorry, mate.
No, look, I know it's Godric, but I'm just doing that for a laugh because I know you for some reason calling him Roderick. I love it. We've got to move on to the next topic. We've been on Elden Ring now for an hour and 20. So that's crazy. It's crazy that it's amazing that a game can do this to a community, bring people in that haven't that haven't played Souls games before, haven't enjoyed Souls games before, and bring them in and make people so excited that we can sit here and talk about Elden Ring. Probably we could do this all day. And look, I'm not going to say your full name, Fork, because I won't. But look, Fork said that gaming isn't in a bad place at the moment. Look, Fork, everyone is entitled to their opinion. But mate, we are in
Even the bad ones.
As Pong says, and Pong's in the chat,
right
we are in the golden age of gaming. That is 110% true. We may not have everything that's next gen yet, but it's coming. This is the golden age. So if you're not happy with gaming now, I don't know what is going to make you happy with that. We'll move on to the next topic. Halo, the Halo player count. It has plummeted 95% on Steam. We don't have the numbers for Xbox Series X. And again, we have been bashing her since probably day one, and I always forget her name, but Bonnie Ross, I haven't forgotten it this time. This is where's the content? Where's the roadmap? Where's the promises? I think it's
risk.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
It's like they knew we were going to talk about it. So they just dropped a little content drip for us right now.
They did not.
But I'll let you finish. That, and I'll read it off. Okay.
God damn!
No, go for it now. Go for it now, Umbra. Read it off before we start, mate, because it's important, mate. Go for it, bro.
Absolutely.
So check it out. So Halo Infinite Season 2 Lone Wolves. I have it on my timeline, by the way. You can check it out. Drops May 3rd. Season 2 includes Catalyst, it's an arena map. Breaker, which is a big team battle map. King of the Hill, finally. Land Grab, which is
we're getting maps!
About time.
About damn time. Sorry, 2 new maps and 1 new game mode so far.
Yep, Last Spartan Standing, another mode. So that's 3 different modes right there. Lone Wolves and Entrenched Armor cores, which, by the way, from the images look badass. And they also have this Doom-esque looking armor right here, by the way.
Hang on, 2 seconds.
One normal map, 1 big team battle map, and 3 new game modes.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to jump up and do a little dance, man, right now. If you can see me on camera. This is... Let's go.
This is the time where everybody's glad we're not on camera. No one wants to see a fat man dance.
So little sadness, by the way. There's no campaign co-op at Season 2 launch. It will come, but not at launch. So it's like I said, it's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back for them when it comes to that. Season 3 will be Forge, of course, but there is no exact date for when it'll drop.
Right. Yeah, I've got it up here as well. Yeah, they're not dropping co-op campaign. They said that it will drop. They will have some more information on it very, very soon, but it will drop. But again, is this too little? It's not too little, too late. Because if it could make me jump out of my chair and dance, it's not too little, too late. Because I'll obviously be playing Halo, and I'm a hardcore fan. But is this too little, too late for the casuals? I mean, the casuals played it. They obviously loved it for a little while. You didn't give us anything new. It wasn't released in a timely fashion. You didn't update us on what was going on. There was basically radio silence until today, just to make me look like an absolute douchebag. But I again, Bonnie Ross, like, what is going on over there? This should have been. And here's the other thing that really bothers me about this. They have other modes. They've introduced them. Why are those modes not in a playlist? How come I cannot go to those modes?
Yeah. Where's attrition?
Where's attrition?
Yep.
Why is Fiesta not in a playlist? Why can't I just go and play those when I feel like it? Why are you holding back content?
There? Yeah,
exactly.
I agree.
Why are you holding back content that you have available for us to play? What's going on over there? Well, who's making these, frankly, stupid decisions that's hurting the game and its player base? Mav, you're obviously a Halo fan. How do you feel about the lack of content and them holding back all of these modes? And obviously they've had other content they could have dropped. Why do you think that this is affecting the player base? I mean, 110% is, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, it is currently, but I'm not too worried about it, honestly. Like, this is gonna. We've known that season 2 is coming in May all along, ever since launch when they had told us that. So for me, that's when I expected we were going to get a big bunch of new content. Now, is that later than we should have gotten? Because it was originally planned for, I think, February or March, right? If that had happened, then we wouldn't be in this situation, right? So I've been waiting. Obviously, the player base has kind of died down a lot. However, like I've seen with a lot of free-to-play games, and when the content starts dropping, it's very easy sometimes for them to get that player base back because it becomes a new excitement around the game again. That's one of the beauties of the free-to-play model, is to keep that engagement and bring back the community with exciting drops over long periods of time. So this is a game that's going to live on for years, right? So as dire as it seemed, it's not all lost, right? Is the game's going to be okay? Is it all the best news possible? No. But I've been enjoying it. I haven't been playing it as much lately just because I've been playing other things. And I think, honestly, part of the reason the player base has dropped is because there's been so many games coming out, right? There's been so many games coming out, and we haven't had the new content yet. So you can always fault them back for the original plans and the original decisions that went into, okay, what is our focus? What is our focal point, right? How much content are we going to have by this date, this date, this date, this date? But they failed those goals a long time ago, and we're reaping the repercussions of it now. So everybody is like, hey, we need this stuff now. We need this stuff now. They can't just pull it out their ass and give it to us, right? It's stuff that they should have emphasized a long time ago, but through bad management decision making a long time ago, now we're feeling it. But it's not a lot different as well compared to other free-to-play games. And I think that's one of the biggest differences with Halo Infinite compared to other Halo games in the past. People are still adjusting to the fact that Halo Infinite is a free-to-play multiplayer game. And a lot will say, like, oh, we didn't ask for that, right? But honestly, it's the best for the franchise. It's the best thing for this game. With multiplayer games in this day and age, you charge $60, $70 for a multiplayer experience. You're going to have it die within the first couple weeks, like a Battlefield 2042 if it doesn't have that content either, right? So am I worried? No. Should there have been more in a frequent update? Yes. But you look at Apex Legends, they launched with one mode, one map. That lasted for months. One mode, one map. Everything's okay. We had Fortnite launched with one mode, one map. Everything turned out okay. You know, we have other free-to-play games like Rogue Company, way less content than Halo Infinite had at launch. So if you compare it to other free-to-play experiences, it's really par for the course and actually above most of them as far as content goes.
Oh, and look,
so
and
we gotta get
and quality, Mav, and I'd agree with that. But the issue that I have is the development time and the way that they, like you touched on it just before, the poor management. And
yeah, it was a lot, but those were decisions that were made a long time ago, right? It's not like today. Like Joseph Staten came in, he wrapped everything up, gave it to us where we actually got a game at launch. But the development time also is not just the multiplayer aspect; it's also the campaign.
Yeah, well,
right? So that's something that those other games didn't have, and they wanted to launch it at the same time because that's what the community wanted.
But I want I want a head on a pike, and I think they put the wrong head on a pike. I mean, it may be immature, 110%. But I think that the management of Halo was poor, and I think that someone needs to answer for that management. And I think if whoever is there that is responsible for that bad management is not going to help the game going forward, and that they should be put in another place.
I've been really critical of Bonnie Ross for a long time as well, right? I think that she's made a lot of bad either operations decisions or management decisions or whatever in the past that have kind of led us to the fact of where 343 was. But ultimately, Joseph Staten came in and he helped wrap that up, and I think he has a lot more control over what's going on there than we know now. We're kind of leading the direction of the entire studio, and he's the one that's giving all these updates and all this kind of stuff to us, you know, leading the path ahead now. So I think we're in better hands than we were before, right? With a lot of these decisions. And yeah, Bonnie Ross is still technically in charge, and I think she may have too much sway and power at Microsoft to really be moved out of there. I don't know how they're going to handle that eventually, but all I can look at is what we got, which is one of the most polished shooters out there. Battlefield even blamed them for failing, right? And we have more content coming. And then after season 2 drops, we're going to have a season 3, season 4, season 5, season 6, season 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's going to keep going and going and going. And ultimately, at a few years from now, when we look back on this, it's going to be like, wow, there's so much stuff to play, right? That there's so much stuff in this game that we've accumulated all of these things over the course of these years. And the reason it's successful and still this vibrant years and years later is because they went with this model that felt really bare bones at launch, right? And we got to look ahead at what the future is going to hold for this game and realize sometimes the hardest thing is to make those decisions of forcing a model into something that people aren't used to. Now, with that comes the negativity of removing modes to have a pipeline of content, because you're trying to keep the community engaged into certain playlists, right? You're trying to keep that communities there engaged into certain things to keep those playlists vibrant and to keep them full, right? So part of the reason why they're not just throwing everything out there like all the modes that they've had is because they want to keep that excitement of these seasonal and these these timed events and all this kind of stuff, because that's part of the same thing that Apex does. It's the same thing that Fortnite does. It's the same thing that all these free-to-play shooters do. They have these modes and they have these events that they come and they have the content there, but they don't exist all the time, right? They release them and pull them back. They release them and pull them back and make events out of it. You know, it's part of the monetization of the free-to-play model and keeping the community alive. Now, once we start getting that content more frequently, which is going to take more work from them, they got to do a better job at that, and I think they're going to. But they've been so handicapped in still getting we got to get the co-op campaign done. We got to get we got to get these issues fixed that we launched with. We got to do this. We got to do that. That's what caused that delay from like the February, March into May. So we're feeling this now, right? Over time, though, we're gonna look in the future. We're gonna look back at this like it was nothing. You know, the community's gonna come back. They're gonna be fine, and we're gonna get so much content and so many maps and so many modes and stuff that it's not gonna be a big deal. But if we can feel it now, you know.
Absolutely. Look, I agree with some of your points there. I think the past is definitely affecting Halo's current situation. I don't think it'll affect the future. I would definitely agree with that. I would just like to see a little bit more transparency from them.
Yeah, they get killed anytime they're transparent.
that is true.
Yeah, they have been pretty transparent in saying that. I mean, I know Joseph Staten said that the roadmap was coming out in February and he pushed it back. But they have been pretty transparent. But one thing, I know you were happy that they released this update, and I get what Mav's saying. It's a live service game, and it generally happens where you get like a roller coaster effect where whenever the new content is released for a live service game, the numbers go up and then they go back down, and you know that continues on. It happens with Destiny a lot. It happens with Apex a lot. It happens with Fortnite a lot, and I know that Halo is going for that. But you've got one new map and one new big team battle map with 3 new modes. That's not enough. I'm sorry, but it's not enough. I want 5 maps, normal maps, and I want 3 big team battle maps. I mean, really, there's only 4 big team battle maps that you can play, and 10 and now 11 maps that you're going to be able to play. It's not enough. Even if you add 3 new game modes to that, it's still not enough. And this game released, by the time we get this update, 5-6 months. I know Forge will change that because the community will make more maps, but a lot of people don't like playing community-built maps. And like the developer to make their maps, so I don't think it's enough. Do I think the game is amazing? Yes. Do I have 1,000 hours into Halo? Yes. But I want more, and I think we deserve more. The community obviously has had enough. That's why there's been a 95% drop off. I've been one of those people that's dropped off. You know, Elden Ring came out, so you know there is a reason for it. We also need a cheat blocker. Hopefully not just on an actual hardware level, on an IP level. You know, we need other things as well. I love Halo. I want Halo to succeed. We need content for that to be able to happen.
Yeah, look, I'd 110% agree with that. And I will add as well that Halo 5 had 8 maps at the same time after launch. So, That's yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I think you made a lot of good points, Jedi. Honestly, people, you're right. Most of the fan base don't care. They don't care for the community made maps as much as the developer made ones. Typically, there have been a few exceptions, but overall, you're right. What they're going to have to do by the time Forge drops is they're going to have their own dev made ones come like releasing on a steady flow, as well as the community maps to alleviate some of that. I don't know yet if this will be enough. I agree with you there. Only 2 new maps, like you said, and 3 new modes. So it's kind of like, it's something, but it's not as robust as we would have wanted it to be. But I guess we'd have to play them to really see. Maybe once they were playing it, maybe they might drop a mode or 2 or a new map during the season. That would be the smartest thing they could do. Is drop a new map or a few maps in between and a few other modes. I don't see why they couldn't. At least the map, at the very least, drop a few maps.
I agree. And the data miners found 5 maps, Umbra. Like, where are they? So we know that they're there because the data miners found them. Are they holding back content? Now, this has been a question that the Halo community has been asking, and there's been a lot of speculation about this, about is 343 holding back content that's basically already finished, that they're holding back for the next season. If that's true, that's disgraceful. It's a management issue. It comes back to Bonnie Ross, and I think she needs to be held accountable. I know Mav said that she's held in very high regard at Microsoft, but I mean, enough is enough. This is their billion-dollar cash cow. It cannot be treated like this. If Fortnite can do it, if Apex can do it, then surely the amount of people that work at 343 can bring out more than 2 maps for the second season, for goodness sakes.
But so that you just named those 2 games, right? Think about where you're if you compare this to where Apex and Fortnite is now, that's not what is a fair comparison, though. You got to look back to what Apex and Fortnite was within the first 6 months.
I understand that, Mav, but Fortnite and Apex were nothing at the start. Nobody knew that they were going to be the games that they were. Nobody knew that they were going to change the gaming landscape and the live service model that everyone seems to be going now. We knew how big Halo was going to be. We knew that it was going to be
way
massive.
More than both of those games at launch. Way more. Like, not even a close comparison. Like, way more.
Yeah, but Call of Duty has more than Halo does. And
but Warzone, when it launched, only had 1 mode and 1 map.
Yeah, look, I see where you're coming from. I think all this comes from a place of love. You know, we love Halo. We want to see it succeed. We don't like seeing numbers like 95% drop off. We don't like that. We just want them to be better.
Look, and I think there's something to be said that when you're saying that these games came with 1 map, within the maps themselves, they had small little stage arenas, right? Like that's the thing with these massive, battle royale like maps. Like they all have their own little sub areas. So just saying 1 map like that, I feel is a little disingenuous because we're just using numbers, right? Like, hey, 1 map. But it was beyond the map though, right? It's because it is a different kind of game mode, which was what made those games exciting, which is the battle royale. And this is why I do think that I don't know if Halo is going to have what it takes to really push forward into the future. Like, I get Halo is fantastic. Like, it's the best version of Halo that exists is what we have right now. But my question constantly is that, like, is that enough? Like, are people past arena shooters? Because even the best arena shooters that exist right now is something like Valorant. And then you do have your Call of Duties that people buy every year, but even that's going to start going off of that yearly cycle. And I'm almost wondering, does that leave a hole for a Halo to kind of fill a little bit right there? But I'm going to be honest with you, I think for the most part, you're competing against Battle Royale games. And I don't think that Halo is going to pull those fans. Like, yeah, they celebrated 20 million people coming in, but having numbers in Steam, having only about 11,000 people play your game, like that is a giant drop off. I don't know what they're going to do to really excite the fan base moving forward.
Well, they've obviously.
Sea of Thieves did, right? They launched with a similar state as well, with less content, people down about the game. Destiny 1 did as well, less content, people down about the game. These games as service and these games that live over long periods of time, that add content over the course of long periods, build their communities, right? You may have a lot of excitement around launch and then also around the new seasons, but those communities build over long periods of time as well with these content drops. So there's a lot of like panic button hitting with Halo Infinite right now, and it's just like people need to have a little bit of patience with this stuff. It's like it's a free game. Like we're playing a free game here that is super solid, and we're like, oh, where's this? Why don't I have this? Why don't I have this? I'm used to getting this now. Where is it? It's like just play the game. If you enjoy it, that's fine. If not, then like wait for season 2 to come out. It's gonna come out. You get to try out the content. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But like this like panic flag waving over Halo Infinite is like way too soon. Right now, we talk about year 2, year 3 of Halo Infinite coming out, and you see like the community's dead. I'll raise the panic flag, right? But like we're nowhere near anywhere near that yet, and I just see too much negativity out there about the game. It's driving me crazy.
I think you make a good point, Matt. I think all of you all make good points. I think you're more on the side of rationality when it comes to it. Like, let's relax a little bit. I think you're looking at the whole overall. I think all of you are looking at the overall. I think it's just, I think it's just a matter of perspectives. My thing on it is I agree with both sides of it. One way, it feels like maybe they just should have delayed this a little longer. The game, maybe they just should have delayed it another, however long they need, another year. I know that it would have hurt, but maybe they could have just delayed it longer to have the proper roadmap and such less of a gap in between, right? For content and such. Have the co-op at launch, things of that nature. So maybe that's what should have happened. But I'm like you. I'm an optimist by nature, so I'm kind of, and I'm a major Halo stan, as you all know. So it's like, I'm going to give them more leeway than they probably should get, just because of that. But yeah, it's kind of hard to argue against what any of you all are saying. And in either way, I do agree with Jedi that this is too small of a content drop for a new season. And that's why I'm hoping that
we don't know all of the events that are also taking place.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
That's why I say I'm hoping that they can surprise us with something.
Exactly.
That's true.
Like we didn't
That's
know
true.
about
So maybe
like
we'll
everything
get-
that was going on with Ten Rai and all, and then the other things that they had with the cyberpunk
Yeah,
thing, they had,
right.
and all that stuff, right? Like those all like kind of came on as like, oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't know that was coming, right? Like, and they had these events throughout, and I think
Right.
they have a build upon that,
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm just hoping that they do that, but it seems kind of crazy to say that I hope that they do this with the multi-billion-dollar franchise. Tentpole franchise. I do agree with Jedi there. It's like, I get it that it's a free-to-play title as far as the multiplayer, but they spent hundreds of millions to make this game. It's like y'all have to have a better roadmap, and that's where Bunny Ross comes into fault right there. I think we all agree there. I don't think there's any disagreements that management-wise they failed as far as that goes, and we're seeing the negative repercussions because of it.
Yeah, look, absolutely.
I don't know.
To some degree, wouldn't you say that even goes higher too because of the pressure to probably hit, not only year 1 but year 2 of the console drop, right? And then to make sure that you hit the anniversary. So it's like the fact that they even dropped the multiplayer right on the 20th anniversary, like that was awesome at the time. I was like, "Oh, this is great." But then look at the situation that we're at now. So we know in the end of the day, this is a business decision and one really pushed by Microsoft. Let's be honest; they needed that marquee title.
Well, then you're
By the
talking.
way,
You're talking Matt Booty at that point, and I would 110% disagree. So you're going up to Phil Spencer. And I would disagree. I don't think that it's a management decision insofar as it goes that high. I think it was poorly managed up to the time, and I think we're getting the headaches of that now. I think the multiplayer was 110% ready. I think when they released that multiplayer, they had done multiple tech tests. I played all 4 tech tests. And from day one, that multiplayer was really solid. And by the time they'd done the last tech test, it was 110%, like 110% solid. Like everything was there. The hit detection, it felt great. All the mechanics were great. The maps that they had were great. So I don't think it was a poor business decision to release that multiplayer early. Even though they said they weren't going to do that, I don't think that was a bad decision, and I don't think it goes up any higher than Bonnie Ross. I think that Bonnie Ross is probably actually, you know what? In one way, it does go a little bit higher. Maybe Phil Spencer should let go of the past and stop mollycoddling Bonnie Ross. I know she's done great things for the company and she's been there since day one. But if you're not performing at the time, then something needs to be done. And nothing is being done. And that is my only gripe. I'm not saying that Halo's going to die, like you said, raising the panic flag, Mav. Look, I don't think Halo's going to die. I don't think it'll die at all. I think, like you said, in the future, we're going to be looking back going, man, Halo was a great game. It's one of the best live service games that have ever been made. Absolutely, I think that's the way that Halo's headed, and we're getting the headaches from the past now. I just think something needs to be done. And I'm not saying an apology to the community, but if they take action, I can guarantee you the community is going to see whatever action that they take, maybe moving Bonnie Ross to another place. They take that action, I guarantee you the community cuts them more of a break. But we haven't seen any action in the way of, other than bringing Joe Staten in the way of, letting Jason go was, I think, the wrong move. Personally, and I don't think anyone thought that it should have been on him. We've got to move forward because we are going to shorten up this show today. We've only got probably another 15 minutes, and so there's a couple of things that I wanted to cover, but we won't talk about too much. I just will let everyone know that Stalker 2 has been indefinitely delayed until the war is won. And it's a very sad situation over in Ukraine at the moment, and disgraceful actions by Russia. And we'll move into, I'll just drop a couple of things that are news, and then we'll move into a topic we can talk about quickly for 15 minutes. And then we are going to end the show. And that feeds into EA has removed the Russian team from NHL 2022, and rightly so. And I think they should have. And the Russian vice president, the Ukrainian vice president has called for Xbox and PlayStation to remove their support from Russia until the war is over and a resolution is met. And I think personally that is the Xbox should and PlayStation should. And I think if they don't, it's a misstep and the wrong thing to do morally. So that's horrible, shitty news. But we'll move forward on that. We won't have a.
I just want to say this is what the developers of Stalker said, and yes, it is incredibly sad, but they said on the 24th of February, Russia declared war on Ukraine and sent rockets, tanks, and soldiers to our homeland. Our country is forced to fight for our existence again. Now we are striving to help our employees and their families to survive. The game development shifted to the sidelines, but we are definitely continue after the victory. Glory to Ukraine.
Yeah, very sad. Very sad. That what's going on over there. The only word for it, and a very Australian way to say it, it's just fucked. And I couldn't imagine what they're going through. But we'll move forward onto another topic. Game Pass has been pretty quiet in the last couple of weeks, but they have brought Guardians of Galaxy to Game Pass. Absolute champions. Thanks for doing that, Xbox. I just bought the game for 50% off. So. It's a bit of a banger coming. We had a quiet month there with Game Pass, and I think that they may have let these games coming in shine, have their time in the sun. So Elden Ring, and I think even Horizon Forbidden West to an extent as well. We know that Phil Spencer's.
Raise the sun. I'm sorry, Elden Ring, Souls Lord. Raise the sun.
I love it.
But also moving on to another topic, or the same topic, there's a huge PlayStation event rumored, but also on that topic, their games this month on PS Plus are weird and not the greatest. to say the least. That event's been rumored now for about 3 weeks. And I personally think, and I think the buzz around the internet, is that they may be launching Spartacus sooner rather than later, and they're holding back games for what's coming to Spartacus. Mav, have you looked into this at all?
Yeah, I mean, we're bound to have some more news soon. I think it's been a long time coming for this announcement. I remember, was it a few months back when they started pulling the cards from the storefront from the retail stores, right? So that was the sign. All of the leaks from Jeff Grubb recently about the pricing of Spartacus as well, and kind of what the services are going to entail with the baseline information. Now, I think there's a lot missing there, like with context, right? And that's what I think is going to be when we get this event. Now, it was also interesting to see that Shadow Warriors 3 was day one on PSNow, right? And that's I think a shift going into the
and remember that's exactly how Game Pass started. They started with third parties, day and date.
Yep, and that's going to be exactly the same thing. You know, we already heard from PlayStation that they are becoming a multi-platform company. That came from Jim Ryan himself, said that. In discussing Bungie and the acquisition of Bungie, that they're going to have 10 live service games hopefully released by 2026. That is not PlayStation's MO to do live service multiplayer focused games, right? PlayStation is making a huge shift with their model and approaching the same amount of gamers that Xbox is going after, right? The same, because devices in the future are only a limitation. They're not the sole access point to your ecosystem, right? A device in the future is just one access point to your ecosystem, right? And PlayStation sees that future, and they're getting on board before it's too late. And all the little moves they've been making, all of the companies that have been acquiring to like do porting to PC games for their PC, and all these other little transactions they've been making, these little studios you never heard of, right? All of these plus the Bungie acquisition, all of it's adding up into this new infrastructure of where we're going to have this new PlayStation. So we're going to have this announcement soon where it's going to give us even more insight. I'm curious how they're going to brand it, because with the rumors of how Spartacus is priced with the baseline at $9.99, does that include it's actually $13.99 is the one that includes PSNow, I believe. So with that, does that include like everything you get in like a Game Pass Ultimate? No, it doesn't. So
no day and date, but I think it does include the demos, Meth. Yeah,
the demos, right? So, and then
really short. If they're like an hour or two, is that really worth it? Not for me, it wouldn't be. But they can also add in anime component. They can add in the Crunchyroll.
That's true.
The demos are only on the $16.99 option as well.
Okay,
actually.
not even on the 13 one.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, so the demos.
So can you go through the tiers, please, Matt? Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so I'm doing this based off of memory. So like on the first tier, we basically had what we have now of PS Plus, right? A multiplayer, the cloud saves. It's like the essential, right? And then from what I believe, I remember the next tier had added PSNow, like a back library of games, right?
Hey, Matt.
Or the PS4 games. Yes, sir.
If you wouldn't mind, I'm looking at a little screenshot of it now. According to Jeff Grubb, prices wise monthly, like you said, essential is similar to what PS Plus is now, $10 offers. What PS Plus offers today. Extra will be catalog of downloadable games. That's $13, and premium is free trials, classic games, cloud games, new games every month, 300 plus games. That's
the
$16.
Premium included the streaming, right, and then also the classic library of games, plus
exactly.
Game trials, right. So my question is, because so the $13.99 one included the PSNow, right? So my question is the existing PSNow subscriptions going to still exist? Because they didn't mention that, and with that leak, so I don't know if what is it, $5.99, $6.99, something like that, $7.99. I don't know what it is right now, but is that going to still be an option just to subscribe alone just to PSNow, or are they phasing that out altogether because PSNow is actually transitioning into this And at that point, if that's what's happening, if there's going to be no longer a cheaper option, then that becomes an expectation more of value in that service, right? And
can
if
see
we
them
have
What
doing
about
that too.
places like Australia that don't have PlayStation now? That we don't even have access to it.
Good
Yeah.
point. I forgot about you
I-
guys' situation over there.
yeah, that's interesting, man. I'm thinking like when this gets announced, right? What I think is potentially PSNow as we know it could no longer exist. It's now renamed. This library of games that they're mentioning includes everything we know about PSNow, but also more third-party content day one, like Shadow Warriors 3, right? And they're going to make some other announcements of third-party games day one coming to generate that excitement, and as well as they're going to promote the other classic library options that they're going to have. Then the question becomes, are those games downloadable, right? Or you're going to have to stream that classic library of PS1, PS2, PS3 games, right? Have they figured out a way of actual on the console emulation, right? As opposed to having to stream it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how all that's rolled out. They are trying to get into that world because they have to for the future of the company. People think that's crazy. PlayStation's going to be fine. You gotta look, like everything. You gotta look into the future of where everything's going. Things if you focus on, and Jim said this himself. So I'm quoting like the actual man in charge of PlayStation here. Okay,
You know, man, a lot of the PlayStation guys think they know better than the actual leaders there in PlayStation, so you can't tell them anything.
that's true. But if you look at what they're saying that they are looking beyond the device now.
Right.
Yeah,
They
they
just
don't
wanna
want to
add-
gatekeep anymore. I think he said he didn't want to gatekeep anymore. Didn't want to keep millions of gamers out of the ecosystem. Yep.
Right.
Just to say this, guys, just to add this to that, what you were saying, Mav, Jeff Grubb, I was watching a bit of his show earlier, and he mentioned that, like you guys pointed out, Sly Cooper and I believe Infamous, they're holding back for something to show that off with. That's what he said on the show. So it could be, like you guys alluded to, that they're going to do that and be like, oh, launching exclusively until, you know, I'm thinking it's going to be called PlayStation like Platinum or something like that, or Diamond or something that harkens into the trophy name or something.
By Sony to keep that momentum that they have at the moment going after Horizon Forbidden West, knowing that Xbox don't have much, and so having something in March to say that Infamous is coming, that Sly Cooper is coming, that Spartacus is coming, get that momentum happening that they've really been lacking over the last year. But now that Horizon Forbidden West has dropped, we've got some news on Gran Turismo 7, just keeping that momentum up and taking that oxygen out of, you know, Xbox, who have had the momentum basically since the end of last year.
It's going in waves, right? Like 6 month waves. Like, okay, the second half of last year was Xbox's. The first half of last year was PlayStation. The first half of this year is PlayStation's. The second half of this year is going to be Xbox's, right? It's going to be very interesting, especially if God of War Ragnarok end up happening in 2023, because there's all of these big PlayStation games, with the exception of God of War Ragnarok, are all slated for the first half of this year, including Ghostwire Tokyo, right? So that's next on the docket for them for their year timed exclusive, right? But then on Xbox, you're going to have potentially we're going to have Starfield on the Xbox.
Starfield, Redfall, Deathloop.
Redfall, yeah, Deathloop, and Forza Motorsport probably as well, which you remember they didn't announce Forza Horizon 5 until E3, right? So I'm assuming that Forza Motorsport will actually hit this year. It just makes a lot of sense. I'll be loving to see that battle in the same year GT7 and Forza Motorsport launching, right? I think that the momentum thing is just going to be a sway back and forth until they both get their pipelines really, really well. And I think that's going to be like 2023 and 2024 for Xbox. For PlayStation, I don't know. Like, I got to see more of what all of their announcements are, because they have a lot of games that they probably haven't announced yet that we don't know. Because all of their big announcements, for the most part, are about to release, right? So there's a lot to still find out about what's coming on PlayStation for the road ahead. We know a lot about that on Xbox. We know about Fable. We know about Perfect Dark. We know about Avowed. You know, we know all the project names that are in the works. We know all of these developers that are making games, projects that we just don't know 100% what the name is, but we have even details. Yeah, we know Hellblade 2,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, we
there's
also
so
know,
much
like,
we know.
It's like 50 games in the making too. We know that much.
Oh yeah, 100%. I broke it all down on videos and stuff. I mean, I have a list, actually, a PDF I'm keeping on my desktop of just all these projects, and it's insane.
Yeah.
There's 34 that we actually know names of, or that have been confirmed as like, yeah, we're making this game. We haven't announced it yet, or like that where the project managers have been assigned to it. For example, like Tango Gameworks, they announced that John Johannes is working on the next game that's going to be made by Tango Gameworks, right? And
nice.
he's the creative director of Evil Within 2, right?
Nice.
So we know that he's working on a game, right? But we don't know what it's called yet. So that
I didn't know.
counts, right? So, yeah, they said it in an interview during one of the, I think it was around GamesCom or something like that.
Okay.
When they were interviewing the was it Shinji Mikami, head of
Right.
Tango Gameworks. So there's a lot of projects we know are in the works, and there's like 13 other projects that have been leaked, right? And then that only goes into a small amount of the rumors out there and leaks. So there's actually way more. Then you go into potential future acquisitions. You go into anything that Activision's going to be making after that deal goes through. Blizzard has even already announced another survival game that's going to be Xbox and PC exclusive, probably for sure, unless this whole Activision Blizzard thing turns out differently because of all of the, what is it called? The
lawsuits.
DOJ or no, it's not the DOJ.
Oh,
the
the
FTC.
FTC.
Yeah, the FTC. Yeah, if they get make them have some like concessions and all this kind of stuff.
I
Who knows
hope
exactly
not.
what's going to happen.
I hope not. I know Xbox fans are going to have a riot if they do.
Yeah, but we need to know more about the future of PlayStation, right?
You will have another Capitol building incident if I think if.
Oh no.
You're going to wait
Yeah,
for
this Spartacus
FTC.
announcement. It's got to come with the pipeline. It's got to come with future announcements for PlayStation, like stuff to look ahead to. Kind of like they did early, like in 2013 when they just annihilated Xbox, right? They had that E3 when they just like, hey, let's just think of everything out there that's been on the forums that's like the most requested games ever before in gaming history, and let's just announce them all together at the same E3, and then we'll figure out how to make them later.
I remember that one. Was that when they announced Shenmue 3 as well?
Yeah, they had like Shenmue 3. They had like Final Fantasy 7 remake. All this stuff all at the same time. And it's like people's minds were just like going ape shit crazy. That's like we didn't get those
Kind
games
of like
until,
what Xbox did last year.
Yeah, last year Xbox is magnificent. This
thing
E3
about
is going to be
Xbox-
crazy too, by the way.
It will. The thing about Xbox is most of the stuff they revealed at E3 last year is soon. I mean, we have Forza Horizon 5 came out last year. Even Redfall is slated for this year. You know, we already had Flight Sim and like Replace is supposed to be released this year. I mean, there's a lot that they sold a show last year for Xbox's E3 that is very soon.
But they've been extremely quiet lately. We talked about this in the last show. All these things that are coming, like Redfall is slated for summer, and we haven't seen any gameplay of that game. And so,
It'll be delayed.
Yeah. Logically, you gotta assume that there's definitely going to be a delay, and they're just holding back until they know when that delay is going to be. And then they're going to announce that the delay is until another year or whatever it's going to be. But absolutely, I do think that that Sony needs to come out with like absolutely firing. Hey, when is Wolverine coming? Is it coming 2025? Is Spider-Man 2 coming in 2023? What's coming? Because we know Insomniac can pump out a game quickly and with quality. So I do see Spider-Man coming sooner rather than later. But I look with this. I was looking at the tiers, and there's nothing in those tiers, especially being an Australian for me. And maybe Gladiator, I'll go to you on this. Because I know that you like to sit on the fence between the two. We don't have PlayStation Now, so if they're gonna do a tiered service, they need to be able to offer that service in more countries than they already are offering. And if it's going to be a stream service, I don't see it being a stream service with those offerings because I just don't think they have the servers to handle that. They're using Microsoft servers, and Microsoft has the service to handle it. Yeah. So look, does Microsoft allow them the time and space in other countries to do it, I think is a big question, and that may be going on behind the scenes. I don't think Microsoft would stop them due to just competition. I think it'd be a monetary thing. So if Sony can come up with the scratch and put it together to put those services out into other countries, then I can see the service being successful just with the player base and subscription base that they have now. However, do I think that this is even a patch on what Game Pass is offering if these tiered systems are correct? Not even a patch. You're paying a top tier for demos. We're paying a top tier for the top. This is what I love about Microsoft. The base tier gives you the games. You get the games in the base tier. And in the top tier, you get to play them cloud. You get the extra little services on top, the sprinkling, the cherry on the top of the ice cream, if you will. But PlayStation, I think PlayStation's approach, if this is what they're doing, because this is just conjecture and rumor, if this is what they're doing, it's not going to fail, but I just don't think it's the right way to go. Offering demos in a top tier is not a cool thing. That should be your base tier. And yeah, look, I think PlayStation have a long way to go, but we're seeing day and date with Shadow Warrior 3. As I said, that's how Game Pass started. They started with day and date stuff, and that'll ease their fans into the fan. Oh, this is cool. They're already saying this is cool. This is great. We're getting Shadow Warrior day and date. I don't want to see first party games day and date. No. But as soon as that first party game drops, that first banger, I can guarantee you they will be out there celebrating in the streets. Gladiator, will you be waving the flag when they finally drop Wolverine day and date?
Listen, all I have to say is anything that helps my wallet, man, is what I'm about. You know, I would love if they just went with full subscription service. I've always pushed back on the thoughts of them doing something like that, because I think a primary thing that they're trying to do is, because Sony does have a big entertainment business within movies. So for them, they recognize that there's a level of FOMO that comes out when you release a game, and then they're gonna get the most sales and revenue off of those initial sales, and then you can move that to a streaming service, a subscription service. So I think that movie type of distribution works in making money. And until the day that they see that, hey, I make more money by dropping it on the subscription service than by selling it first, that's when I see the shift does change for them. I think they're ready for that future. It more likely than not is an eventuality, but until that their accountants say, hey, this is what needs to happen at this point, I don't think that's going to be soon enough where Wolverine would be the first to do it.
No, absolutely. Look, we do have to wrap the show up, but JediUmbra, did you want to speak any more on this topic at all?
No.
No, I'm good.
That's it, mate. Yeah.
Fantastic. Look, I apologise to the viewers for wrapping it up in just 2 hours. We normally run a 3-hour show, even though we do try to wrap it in 2 hours every week. It never works out, but it has this week. I've got a bit of a family emergency, and I know Mav has to go to work. But I just want to thank everyone that came through in the chat. You guys are amazing. If you are still here at the end of the show, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. To our guest, Mav, fantastic. Thank you for coming on the show. We're just a little channel, and you've taken the time to step down and come in and have a chat with us today, and we really appreciate it. Can you tell everyone about your podcast, because I know you have a few going, where they can find you and what you're up to?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me here. I love what you guys are doing. I remember when y'all just started the show, and I kind of tuned in. I was like, hey, these guys have got something. I think Umbra, I kind of discovered you guys through him, because I'd known him for a little while in the community, and was able to catch you guys' show early on, one of your first episodes from that. And I've been kind of following in the shadows, right? And kind of seeing how you guys are growing. You're doing great things. So just keep it up, man. But if you guys want to check out anything that we're doing over on Fun Speculation, just follow me on Twitter at Fun Speculation. Go to youtube.com, Fun Speculation, and check out our channel. We have lots of game streams. You can see me die repeatedly on Elden Ring if that's your thing, or you can check out like multiple of our shows, our podcast. We got Fun Pop on Wednesdays, which is like Marvel movies, DC TV show, video games, Star Wars stuff, like all pretty much just kind of pop culture entertainment stuff. Thursday we got Pong Soul and I on PM in the PM, where we kind of deep dive on more industry kind of specific topics and have a blast. Fridays usually is Xbox Ultimate Podcast, and that would be normally going on right after this. However, tonight I had to cancel because I got to go to work. But that's usually Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have an awesome group here, and that's the first show that we started on our channel. It kind of started it all for us. So, and then Saturdays is Fun Speculation Podcast, FSP, at 6 p.m. Eastern, and that's with Fuzzy Belvedere and Gaming Key, two amazing guys. Again, this week because of work, I had to cancel this week's episode. But yeah, check us out, guys. We'll be having game streams and other stuff this weekend. So appreciate it. Hit the notification bell, see when we go live. And hey, again, Gladiator, is nice meeting you. I don't think I've had the pleasure of talking with you before. Umbra, great hanging out with you. Jedi Knight, great hanging out with you. And Risk It, thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you so much for coming, mate.
Thanks for those kind words. Gladiator, we love having you on the show whenever we can get you on. Thanks for coming today, man. Where can the people find you? I know you've been doing a little bit of streaming lately, and you're getting back on that horse again. Where can people find you? What have you been up to?
Yeah, well, first of all, always, great to be on the panel. Love you guys. Umbra's my dude, my Chicago brother. What's up? And it's funny how is Jedi also from Australia?
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
So it's like you two guys are from Australia, and then Umbra and I are in Chicago. That's kind of funny. I just thought about that.
But
no,
Risk
man,
it's from the really shitty part of Australia.
Yeah, look, that's why
yeah.
you can't tell that Peter's from Australia, because he sounds like they're weird people, like strange Melbourneites. They love their coffee and their baristas. They love the baristas more than they love their coffee. Sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, man, you guys can find me. Definitely, I have a YouTube channel. Everything you can find on my Twitter at the Gladiator. I definitely stream as well. I stream the games that I'm playing, so that way I have those documentations of those trials and tribulations I go through. And I'm also on TikTok as well. So yeah, we're a little bit everywhere right now.
Oh, fantastic, man. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Jedi Knight, Umbra, as always, every week you guys hold me down. Fantastic show again today. Jedi, let everyone know where they can find you.
Stevie just asked Gladiator, what is pay to win? But it's a joke. Look,
I don't want to go down that route.
I've just been playing Elden Ring. I think I'll be playing Elden Ring for the next 3 months. That's basically what I'll be doing. You can find me at Xbox at JediKnightPete and at Twitter on JediKnightPete. Thank you so much for having me, Risk It, Umbra. Great seeing you every week. Mav, thank you so much for coming to the show. You too, Gladiator. I know you've been here a couple of times now. We really appreciate you, mate.
Fantastic. Umbra, as always, again, thank you for being a panel member and coming every week, taking time out. Let us know where we can find you, what you're up to, how things are going.
You guys can find me on Twitter under Umbra Infinite or Infinite Umbra. Either way, you'll find me. I'm always on there. I'm going to do more spaces soon talking about Elden Ring here, so I hope some of you all can come through for that, especially those who are really into it and playing it. I want to get you guys' thoughts as well. Tonight, I'm going to go see Batman. I'm not sure who else is going to go see it, but I've heard nothing but
3 hours, man. 3 hours.
Oh, it's 3 hours long? Oh, that's great.
3 hours long, brother. Yeah.
That's excellent. I'm hyped. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to drench myself back into this Elden Ring sauce once I get back home. I want to say this: thank you guys for coming through. Gladiator, as always, brother. You come through and you put it down. Mav, you one of the best in the community. So I was happy when when Risk told us that he had secured you for the show. So really appreciate you coming through. I always watch your shows. Yeah, no doubt. I always watch your shows come through. I mean, you got like 4 or 5 of them going now, right?
Yeah, something like
so
that.
I always
At least track.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I always try to come through and check you guys out. I know you and Pong, I've catch you guys sometimes. Even if I don't necessarily comment, I'm definitely watching you all. So, keep up the good work as always, man. and we all have to link up again soon. I was asking J Rock, by the way, Jedi, about the gaming community night tomorrow. He says he's going to try, so maybe we can all get in on Halo again tomorrow, everybody.
Oh yeah,
That'd be great. That would be
Yeah.
great.
season 2.
Look us up. Look me up on Xbox under Superhavoc, by the way, guys, in case you all do want to link up with us. But thank you guys again for coming through. And of course, my co-host and host itself, and Jedi and Risk, thank you guys for having me and, putting me in a rotation with you.
Now, fantastic. Awesome show, guys. Really appreciated all of you coming. Everyone in the chat that came through, you guys are absolutely amazing. You do make the show what it is. Without you, we would not exist. So shout outs to Boba Fett, Doovie, Gone Mad, Palpatine, Psychonauts, all you guys that come through, Grum, Grey Monad, who's
Speculation.
an absolute champion. He's right there. J-Rock, Gone Mad.
J-Rock, thanks, brother.
All you guys that come through, you do make the show what it is. I'll just say that I'm doing a lot more content on this channel. I've managed to get a speculation. I've managed to get a schedule down. So
Speculation.
where I will be speculating. I managed to get a schedule down where I'll be streaming live on this channel and also putting out videos with my thoughts on what's going on in the industry. So stay tuned here. You can also find me on Twitch at Risk It for the Biscuit 1, and you can find me on Twitter at Risk It for TB. If you are still here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next week. Fantastic, guys. Thank you again for coming, and we will catch you later.
Peace.
And we're out.